everyone, my name is Kelly Her, and I'm the Assistant Director of Communication at Community Inclusion and Development Alliance, TIDA for short. Today, we're having a conversation with Deputy Chancellor of New York City Department of Education, Adrienne Austin, about what to expect in the 2021 and 2022 school year. Welcome back, Deputy Chancellor Austin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is the second part of the three-part video series on Back to School 2021 and 22. And in this video, we're talking about new protocols for the new school year. Be sure to check out the other two videos on students, teachers, and staff vaccination in schools and remote instructions. So Deputy Chancellor, let's talk about the new protocols, new safety protocols in the new school year. First, parents are most curious about what the new protocol is, protocols are in this year for confirmed cases for students, teachers, and staff. In particular, like who's subject to quarantine and testing when there is a confirmed cases.
Yes. So I will sort of go through the two different policies. So there's an elementary school policy because all the children in an elementary school are under the age of 12. And so we know those children won't have been eligible for the vaccine. So they'll be unvaccinated students. So for elementary schools, if there's a positive case in the classroom, all of the students are going to quarantine for 10 calendar days. During that time, they'll be on remote instruction. The teacher will be teaching synchronously to the students, which is like live instruction, kind of like last year on a Zoom or a Teams or Google Meets. And then there'll be a mix of that and then activities, lessons that are asynchronous that students can complete. For middle and high school, it's a little bit complicated. So for students who are 12 years and older who have received the vaccine, if those students are asymptomatic, meaning they have no symptoms, those students are going to continue to learn in the classroom. If the children are 12 years of age, vaccinated, and they're symptomatic, meaning they have something, a runny nose or something that looks like it might be a symptom, those students are going to quarantine for 10 calendar days, and they'll be still learning through remote learning during that time. And then for students in middle and high school who are unvaccinated, those students will quarantine for 10 calendar days. And then they will be, at that point, subject to a COVID-19 test. So on day 5, they can take a COVID-19 test. And if they have a negative result, they can return back to school in 7 days. So a little bit complicated, but that's what happens in middle and high school if there's one positive case in a classroom.
That makes sense. What about, and I assume that these questions, the next two questions came from actually the students. What about the new social distancing protocols in the classroom in terms of the gym and the recess?
Great questions. I think that's probably what most students are looking forward to because that's like the socializing time. We are following the CDC guidelines. And so there will be at least 3 feet of social distancing in classes where we can. The CDC emphasized that schools should not exclude students from in-person learning to keep a minimum distance requirement. So 92% of our classrooms can accommodate 3 feet of social distancing in physical space. And then principals and schools are still working to find solutions around schools, classrooms or spaces where that's not possible. For gym and recess, I mean, we're certainly, for the schools that have play yards and outdoor space and access to parks, they're going to be using them. So just as a sort of frame of reference, last year, 840 schools took advantage of outdoor learning. So they used outdoor classrooms to supplement what they were doing inside the school building. So they're going to continue to do that, to use their schoolyards, their street space, parks, to provide additional space for learning, for recess, for lunch.
Awesome. Speaking of lunch, and I think this is my kids' favorite time at school, are there any changes during the lunchtime at the cafeteria, given that the students will be taking their masks off? You know, how does the social distancing or the safety protocol, how do they look different from the recess and gym and other sort of social distancing policies in schools?
Yes, so our schools are following the CDC guidance. We're providing maximum physical distancing when eating in the cafeteria. Schools are also going to use additional spaces outside of the cafeteria for mealtime. So gymnasiums, classrooms, outdoor spaces, just to ensure that students have the maximum amount of physical distancing possible while eating. I know that principals are looking at how they program lunch times to reduce the number of students that are gathering in one space at a time. So they're going to program students, early in the day, different cohorts of students, so that they're not all converging at the cafeteria at one time. And then for those spaces like cafeterias where there's more students present, we've improved the ventilation in the cafeterias. We have HEPA purifiers there. We have additional exhaust fans there. So we really tried to take a sort of multi-pronged approach to thinking through how do we maximize not only physical distancing, but the airflow and air ventilation in those spaces to ensure safety.
For this year, still the mask, but and I think most of us are very used to it by now. What about, some students with disabilities or young students who are having difficult time wearing their masks? What are some of their options?
We have a mask mandate. All students, all staff are going to be wearing masks. I'm a mom. I have a 9-year-old who gets tired of wearing her mask, and my job as mom is to say, no, you've got to keep your mask on if we're outdoors, and because she's unvaccinated. And so I know our teachers, our principals take this very seriously. And so where there's a child who's getting maybe antsy or they kind of want to take off the mask, the teacher, the guidance counselor, the principal, the adults in the building are going to, talk to the child and make sure that the child is keeping their mask on. This hasn't been an issue. We had a really successful summer rising program. We reopened schools last year and we brought students in, even the pre-K, the little students. And we did not have, a huge problem with students who were unwilling to wear their masks. Most kids, and that's sort of the importance of socializing kids in schools, they follow the rules. And so if everyone else is wearing their mask and they have, a friendly, nurturing teacher who's asking them, please put your mask on, they, for the most part, from our experience, that's happened and it hasn't been a problem.
Masks are cool in school setting, and that's all, put them on. Now I want to talk a little bit about worst case scenarios. If anything, what pandemic taught us is, preparation. So what's the threshold for school closures and remote learning in terms of the community infection rate?
Great question. So we are following guidance from health experts. When it comes to, when it's time to close down the school system, that's something that the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is going to determine. And their threshold is widespread transmission in the school. So with the health and safety measures in place, we expect that school closures will be limited. So we're not expecting to see that happen. We had a really successful school year last school year. We had less than 1% of COVID rate infection in our schools. And we expect the same thing this year because of our approach. Everyone's wearing a mask. We've got regular hand washing and hand sanitizing. We're having a regular routine of biweekly COVID testing. And then we have all of our staff vaccinated, and a lot of our students, particularly in middle and high school, will come back vaccinated. So we believe that all of these measures are going to really keep our schools from having to close. But if that is necessary, it's going to be the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene making that decision, and the threshold is widespread transmission.
And I think the new variants are making parents really nervous. So, parents were wondering, does the New York City Department of Education have a contingency plan in preparation for severe cases of Delta or other new variants? I think the latest is mu. So, and if you do have a plan, how does the plan address the safety of the students against the new variants and potential pandemic?
Absolutely. We have contingency plans. We are constantly in contact with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. We have the Situation Room, which is essentially, this space that has Department of Health personnel, test and trace personnel, DOE personnel, Department of Buildings personnel, who are constantly looking at the data. And they are communicating with schools. They're looking at the health data that's coming in and sort of sharing information and making decisions. We're obviously also in contact with state officials, state health officials, CDC, and are sort of keeping abreast of everything. I think, what one can hope, and I am a parent, what I always hope is that the people at the helm are responsible decision makers and that they are prioritizing the health and safety of our children. And that is what these folks are doing. And that is the reason why all of these new health and safety protocols are in place. And why I'm here trying to encourage everyone, please, if you have a child that can be vaccinated, please get your child vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. All of our staff is coming back vaccinated. We are going to be wearing masks. We're going to be having our health and safety protocols. Our facilities managers, our custodians have been cleaning the buildings. They're going to, have special hydrostatic cleansers to spray down those classrooms to keep the classrooms clean. They've added ventilation. They've added, I think, 2 purifiers in every classroom. We're doing everything we can as a school system to make sure that our classrooms and our school buildings are safe for students. And I think the ask is just join us in that. We have to do this together as a community because we want our children to learn. We don't want to have any further disruption in their educational process. So we want them in. We know that learning in classroom is good for them and it's better than anything we can deliver remotely. And so we want our students back in the classrooms learning.
Well, we certainly hope that everybody stays safe in this school year. Everybody is so excited to go back and kick off the new school year. Thank you so much for answering all these questions from the parents. For more information about the new school year, please visit schools.nyc.gov. And for more information about CEDA, please visit cedainfo.com. Please check out other 2 videos on students and teachers and staff vaccination in schools and remote instructions. Thanks for watching and have an awesome school year, everybody.
Thank you.